I will never forget this moment. I even hit record on my computer because I wanted to remember this moment. If you haven't seen the first part of the story, this video won't make quite as much sense, so I'd recommend you watch that first. But this is my continuation of my Korea story. Basically, there are 3 sections of my life as far as when I've lived in Korea. So I'm going to call them Korea 1, which is the first time I went, shocker, Korea 2, the second time I went, and then Korea, I guess, today, because it's like the now, like I moved here, I live here, I have a long-term visa. And let me express, Korea number 1 was definitely the worst of the 3, but probably the most growing of the 3. I mean, they've all been very, very growing, very difficult, very challenging in their own ways. But one for sure, I hit like another different kind of rock bottom. Korea 1 had a lot of firsts. There was the first video I ever made, which is just like so amazing because now I have this whole YouTube channel where I get to help you guys and I like love what I do. But it was also the first time I ever went on a trip without there being any like above supervision. Like there was no organization that planned everything, or like a friend that had like the whole thing laid out. It was the first time I was just like whimsically going on a trip, and that led to like the first time I really faced anxiety living abroad and like worry of like, how the heck do I do anything? Like,
I feel sick.
I remember when I got off the quarantine bus for the very first time, me and my friend like stepped out and we were like, we literally don't know how to get a taxi. We don't know how to get on the subway if we wanted to get on the subway because we don't even know how to pay. We knew nothing. And so I remember feeling so anxious and so worried, but that's what led to the first video. So like, I don't have regrets about it, but again, it was the first time I was facing these emotions. But one thing it was not the first time doing was, it was not the first time that I was running away from my past. I don't know if anybody can relate to me, but I often in my past have used traveling or moving as a way of coping or a way of healing. You think you can just run away from your problems, and then you do that, and actually when you travel, often your problems kind of become amplified, or you could say they're brought to the surface. And it's really hard to go through stuff like that in a foreign country because often the comforts that you find in day-to-day life that you would in the country that you're from are harder here. Like going to the store and buying groceries isn't just easy. Like you actually have to think about, how do I check out? Like going to a cafe, you have to think about, how do I pay? What do I say? The stuff that is not something you would think about in like your hometown, you're now having to think about it. So all of those moments where you have to think about it is potential for something to go wrong. And often if you're already in an unstable state like I was, and all the little things kind of start to go wrong, it really piles up a lot quicker. In America, like I wasn't really stable. I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't know who I wanted to do life with. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And so I thought going to Korea and getting away from it all would be great, but ultimately it kind of just, like I said before, it amplified all of this feelings that I was having of like unworthiness and looking for love in maybe all the wrong places. And so it led to a lot of relational regret, I guess you could say. Well, maybe I should just be more honest. I was in such a state of panic and like desperation that I ended up like befriending people that maybe I never would have befriended, but I was literally just doing it because they were Korean, and I was so terrified to be in this country and not understand anything. First day out of quarantine, I literally met up with like a stranger who was not a stranger that I ever wanted to meet again. Let's just say that. But I did it because I was anxious and worried. But at the same time, in Korea 1, there was a guy who I did not date, but this guy, even though he'll never see this, I thank this guy so much because in America, I knew there was a guy who I wanted to be with, but he wasn't really making the effort to want to be with me. And he just kind of worried about his work, and I just wasn't worth it to him to like relationally like make the commitment. And I had settled for that for months. And I got to Korea, and here was this random guy who saw my worth, and I made it very clear that I wasn't looking for a relationship or anything like that, but he helped me in so many ways. He was so kind to me, and he treated me so well with so much respect that it helped me see my own worth. Even though in Korea 1 there are a lot of experiences that I have that I regret. I hurt people, I hurt myself, I didn't see my own worth. A lot of things that I can't change. And instead of sitting here wishing I could change it, what I realized is, you know, traveling is not gonna solve your problems. If anything, it brought it to the surface, but in the act of it being brought to the surface, in the act of really struggling with my purpose and struggling with my worth and struggling with who am I? Like, why am I in this world? The way that it unfolded, it was dark. But by the end of the trip, there was light at the end of the tunnel. There was hope, because here was this guy who treated me so well that it reminded me of my worth. And at the same time, I started making these videos and I realized I could really help people. And I know how much the anxiety of traveling can really build. And I know that there's a lot of questions that I could answer for people in advance that could be really helpful for them, so that even if they are running away from their problems, even if things in their life aren't going the way that they wished, and maybe they are using travel to kind of like get away, at least I could help solve some of these anxieties and worries and concerns. And so I had this hope in myself, and I had this hope in my purpose again. But I had to go back to America. My flight home, the original flight home from Korea 1 back to America, it got canceled. And they said in the email I had until the end of August to fly back home or to use that like voucher credit. I actually genuinely tried to extend my visa, like round 1, fun fact, you can't extend tourist visas. I thought you could. I bought my Airbnb for literally another like month and a half. Immigration was like, nah, you can get a new ticket. There's tickets back to your country. Like, you have to leave. So all of a sudden I had to like cancel my Airbnb. I had to pack up all my stuff. I thought I had like a month and a half. Now I only have like 2 weeks. I have no choice at this point but to buy a plane ticket home. And it's so crazy to me because like for some reason it was less expensive for me to buy a round trip than like a one-way. So I just literally picked a random day that was like cheap in the future. So I just randomly buy a ticket for September as like the returning ticket, but I was just like, I'll cancel it. I'm just gonna go home. I knew I loved Korea and I knew I would love to come back, but I didn't know how. It kind of just seemed like maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't, I don't know. So I ended up going back to the States, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna keep making these videos. I filmed so much content. I'm gonna just make as many videos as I can about as many things about Korea as I can. And then once I like run out of content, I guess we'll just kind of see like, do I want to keep doing this whole video thing? Because if I do, I kind of need to be in Korea to make videos about Korea. So I was just in the States and all I was doing was editing and working. And then in August, I get another email that's like, due to the coronavirus situation. How many times have you heard that phrase? We have extended that you now have until the end of the year to use this flight voucher. And I was like, wait a minute. That's me doing math in my head. I technically still have that flight back to Korea for September, and you're telling me I now have like a free flight home. So if I leave in September, a tourist visa is 3 months. Wait a minute. Like, I technically have like a round trip ticket that's already bought. I'm going back to Korea. So I just decided like, I want to go back anyway. I like making these videos, and my YouTube channel during this like break between Korea 1 and Korea 2, my channel got monetized. I don't know if it's because I'm so excited, but I did it! I did it! I have a bloody nose, but I got 1,000 subscribers! So now I'm like making money. Well, not a lot. I'm making quite a small amount of money, but I am making money. So I was like, my channel's monetized. I can go back to Korea. I don't have to buy the ticket. Let's go. So I go back. You guys might have seen in my like quarantine vlogs, the trip started off not well. I ended up getting into like a quarantine facility that didn't have an openable window, and I'm claustrophobic. So I started having like an anxiety attack because I felt like I couldn't breathe. And then I got sick. I had a fever in quarantine. I thought I was gonna be taken to some like hospital, hospice, you know, I don't know, but I was panicking already about not being able to breathe. And then you add like getting sick on top of it. It was a mess. But what really lifted my spirits was while I was in quarantine, I got onto Bumble BFF to try to like make friends. And I matched with a girl who tells me about this church. She said, I think it'd be, you know, I think you'd really like the church. It's a good way to make friends, meet foreigners, kind of have like a home away from home. She tells me the name of the church. And then a subscriber who I have yet to meet in person, who just so happened to land in Korea the same day, 30 minutes after me. So we're both in quarantine together. We just ended up messaging. She said, oh, I already had a church actually that I was going to attend. I was like, oh, what's the name of your church? And she said, oh, here's the name of the church. And I said, oh, that's funny because that's the same name. That's the same church. that so the same day I had 2 random strangers both telling me to check out this church. So I was like, all right, I'm going to this church, I guess. And I forgot to say this, but it's very important. I don't know how much you know about this concept of church, but maybe you would have no desire to go to church like I had no desire to go to church. I had at this time a lot of negative views on church. I had a lot of church hurt, and I had no desire, absolutely no desire to go to a church. I thought me, myself, and I'm good. I don't need those people. I don't need more hurt, basically. So when I had 2 separate individuals telling me I should check out this church, I was very against it still. And I remember thinking like, you know what? I don't have to go in person, but I'm in quarantine. I've got time. So I watched the message online, and within the first 5 minutes, there was a prayer that the man prayed and said, there are so many people here who are hurt and lost, and they are looking for answers. They're looking for hope. They're looking for truth in their life, and they don't know where to turn. Bring people to Korea so that we can collectively love people well in this country and point them to true love, to true purpose. And I remember being in shock and in awe because I felt like that person was talking directly at me. And I realized, wow, I had been hurt. And I had every reason to be upset, and I had every reason to not want to really put myself out there. If you like watched in my first video, I had lost everything, honestly, at one point. So I had no desire really to like go out to a church, especially, and feel like it was just full of these fake people who would end up hurting me again. But what I realized is that I was looking at humans as if they could be perfect people. And humans can't be perfect. Humans will mess up. Hurt people hurt people. And so I didn't want to allow the past hurt that I had felt, I didn't want that to affect my future, because ultimately I could still love other people to the best of my ability. I could help people in the future to the best of my ability, and put aside the past hurt and stop letting those chains of pain hold me down and make me feel heavy. I really realized in this message that I could take those chains literally off, give them to God, and I could just go out and be the best person that I could possibly be. And I am still gonna mess up, and I still let people down to this day. I know I'm trying my best and I still mess up. But ultimately, I knew in that moment, my past isn't a curse. My past has shaped me into who I am, and now I have these attributes of myself that I can use to impact other people in the best ways, to love them, to help them, to guide them. And so I took on Korea too, like, let's go. I'm ready to impact the world. I'm ready to let go of this past, and I'm ready to heal, and I'm ready to see what does the rest of my life have in store. And that's what I did. Korea 2 was making videos, helping you guys, trying my best to build my YouTube platform as much as I could. And after the 3 months, which were an amazing 3 months, I went back to America like, I'm getting back to Korea. I love what I'm doing. I want to keep loving people. I want to keep impacting the world. It's getting hot because I turned the AC off, so. But my funds have really, I mean, like before when we started like Korea 1, we had a lot of money. I had been saving up for years. After Korea 1, and then I worked. And then it was like after Korea 2, you know, we got down here and it's like, this is broke, all right? And I never want to be broke. So I'm gonna need to work like at least to here because school costs like this much. And then I looked at the plane tickets and they had gone up in price. And so now plane tickets put me to like here. So like now I have this much money left, but I want to go back to Korea like now because my YouTube channel is getting like growth. And so I was working like a maniac. I was doing like DoorDash and what's it called? Shipped, which are both like food delivery services. I was working like 14-hour days sometimes. I was just working as much as I possibly could because I knew you can't go to Korea with this much money. I remember sitting in parking lots like waiting for the next order, and I would just start like crying because I was like, how am I ever going to make enough money to be able to do all of this? Like the flight ticket is way out of my budget. Like I didn't realize how expensive it was going to be because like coronavirus was like kind of dying down. So everybody wants to travel. So flight tickets are going up. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to like DoorDash my way to Korea. Like there's just no way I can make that much money. And I hated it. I hated it so much. But I just thought to myself, look, I love making these videos. I know some people have found these videos helpful. I should make a Ko-fi page. If you don't know what Ko-fi is, it's Ko-fi. It's a Patreon. It's just a little different. It's like buying somebody a cup of coffee as like a thank you, basically. So I created this coffee page to say, if you found any of my videos helpful, if you would like to donate, this is the place to do it. And I put like a little goal on there. I felt dirty asking for help. I felt dirty for needing help. I just put it up there thinking, maybe I'd get like, a few people that would donate like $10, or I don't know, maybe someone would get spicy, crazy, donate a $20 bill or something like that. Mind you, I had been praying about this with my friends for like the past week. God, I'm gonna need help. I don't know how. I felt dirty asking help, but I knew I needed help. I was sitting in a cafe. I will never forget this moment. I even hit record on my computer because I wanted to remember this moment. And I'm sitting in this coffee shop with Reese. If you remember from, the first video, Reese is who I went to Korea with, round 1. We're sitting in a coffee shop. We've really bonded over the fact that we're stuck in America and we don't want to be in America. We just want to be in Korea. But, the timing has to be right. And if it's meant to be, it'll happen. So we just got to trust God in this. We just got to trust that if it's meant to be, it'll be. In that moment, I get a notification.
You gotta like.
No way. There's no way. And I get notified that a subscriber donated $700, and I had already raised the rest of the goal. Like I had raised $300. I had set it at 1,000. I literally was like, she accidentally, I'll send it back. Yeah, I know your finger slipped. I don't know how this coffee website works. How do I get this person a refund? So I immediately reach out to them and I'm like, and she said, I don't have kids of my own, and so I like to just like bless other people from time to time. What? And it doesn't stop there. I look at the flight tickets, and the flight tickets are actually even more expensive than I was anticipating. It was more than $1,000 for me to buy my flight. And I was like, this dang flight, what do I do? 2 days later, a man emails me and says, hey, I know you were raising money to buy your flight ticket. I fly all the time. I'm from Hawaii. I have all of these flight points, like flight miles. I'd love to buy your ticket for you. I can't make this stuff up. Like, this story is so crazy and we're just getting started, all right?